Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. Happy New Year. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and the Captain. How you doing, buddy? I haven't seen you since last year, my friend.
I know. You ever see that meme of that kid where it's like, that's you. Yeah, I know. Happy New Year, everybody. Good to be back. We took a little break last week. It was a crazy week. The holidays are crazy. We powered through most of the holidays, episodes, but we needed a week last week to get our shit straight and whatnot. So we're back.
Old Captain partied a little too hard on New Year's, and old Skaggs had a little trip to go on for the beginning of the new year. So
last weekend that was fun, man. Up to Lake George. I
want to go, man. Our buddy Brian went one year, and the house looked amazing. You went, and having the lake in your backyard.
It wasn't actually amazing. The lake. It was a tributary of the Hudson, which was cool. It's a really nice region in general, man. And one of the nights we got fucked up and we went in.
Yeah, I saw the video
of the night, and it was cold.
Dude,
let's just put it that way.
I would have loved to have done it outside the podcast. When I work out, I like the sauna. I've learned like a lot of benefits of like what heat does to your body and sweating and stuff. But I've also learned a lot of benefits of what cold showers and cold water does to your body. And like a cold shower a day or an ice bath, you see a lot of, oh boy, did we lose you?
All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. It is chilly out here.
Yes.
And
sorry.
I had too many things running at the same time and it kicked the circuit breaker.
That nasty heat you need to use. God damn it. Right.
Yep.
But speaking of chilly, just to finish what I was talking about, these cold plunges are like one of the best things you could do for like recovery and for your body. Athletes take all those ice baths. You see Kevin Hart do the interviews in the ice baths. I actually take a cold shower every morning, 2-minute cold shower. It's almost better than coffee for you. So Doom Nation, a little health tip to start yourself off on
there you go
2023.
Yeah, man. I have seen a lot of the, super athletes in the ice baths like Rogan and Cameron Haynes and these guys that I follow. I mean, they're psychopaths for being in there for like 10 minutes. I was in, the water for like 30, not even like 3 seconds.
Yeah,
I literally like hit the water and teleported back out.
Yep.
And I ran into a hot tub after that, which felt nice.
Yeah. It's always funny because I went to a spa with brother-in-law Danny, and we were in the back room. We were in the locker room, and they have all these different baths and saunas and stuff. And they had a polar plunge, and they had this cold bath. And the cold bath had these waterfalls. And this was before I started taking like the cold showers. And I got in and I'm like, oh, it's cold. It's cold. And I look over and Danny is under the waterfall, letting it just rain down on him. Didn't feel a thing.
He has got no emotion, no feeling, no nothing. He's just a zombie.
Yeah, just is. All right. So let's get into today's show. What do we got on the docket?
Yeah, we got a few things we'll maybe bounce around. We have a new Twitter file from Alex Berenson. We will cover at length. It's regarding COVID. We have an interesting thing which the captain wants to cover, which is an armed restaurant robbery in Houston, Texas. Scenario that we want to talk about. Got tweets of the week, and then possibly we'll maybe touch a little bit on McCarthy and that whole thing that was going on last week. While we were out, it was interesting. So I think, what do you want to do? You want to start with the Houston robbery?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. It's really, I wanted to get your opinion on this. We're a heavy Second Amendment show. We obviously both value the Second Amendment. We both value carrying pistols and the need to carry in situations such as this, but I think I have a little bit different of an opinion now.
Okay, so
after watching this,
we'll let the news here lay it out, and we'll give our take.
The restaurant customer who shot and killed an armed robber is coming forward today. The drama erupted at this restaurant in Houston. You can see the masked robber brandishing a pistol, ordering all the people inside to hand over their money. The guy in the gray t-shirt throws some bills on the floor. Two customers cower under a table as they give up their cash. But the t-shirt guy is about to act. As the gunman walks by, he leaps up and opens fire with his own gun. Then he tells the victims they can retrieve their cash. And then this happens. He makes a startling discovery about the robber's pistol. That's right, cops confirm the robber was using a BB-type gun. The customer can next be seen taking off in a pickup truck before cops get there. Police issued this photo of the guy they want to question. Now his lawyer has reached out to the DA's office, saying his client wants to talk about what happened.
All right. Interesting. I only watched the video of the guy just basically getting executed. So I didn't hear about that part.
So now I'm all for vigilante justice. We had on the bail reform attorney. You know, the laws that are set forth are so in favor to the criminals. But I personally think what we witnessed, and we can't show the video of the shooting on the podcast or on YouTube, will get taken down. So what happens is the t-shirt guy shot the armed robber 9 times
from behind as soon as he walked away. Sure.
In the back, and he shot him 3 times in the back, walked up, and then stood over him and shot him 4 more times. This is not a good look for Second Amendment carrying people. I'm all for vigilante justice, but I think to murder somebody over a couple of $100 a watch and a few iPhones is not worth it. If me and you are in a mall and we're on the east side of the mall and some maniac's on the west side of the mall, I don't see the two of us going full James Bond Call of Duty and seeking the guy out, you know,
right,
with your little 9mm, my little 357. If we're in the Apple store together and the madman comes running in there, you know, now it's time to play Call of Duty. I get it.
Well, you're cornered in that scenario.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
But this guy wasn't harming anyone. He was going to make off with maybe $200-300 to put 9 rounds in him.
Wow, he wasn't harming anybody. I mean, put yourself in that scenario.
I get it.
You know for certain that he wasn't going to harm you.
True, but be at the ready. I agree with putting at least the first 3 into him, walking up to him and then executing him while he's on the ground is kind of where I was like, this is a bit excessive. That's why I wanted to see your opinion, because I have a bit, you know, so I don't know if you saw the story probably a little bit before Christmas. The guy in Manhattan or somewhere in the city beat the dude with a baseball bat, and then 24 hours later was released on bail.
Okay, I think so.
Yeah. So now, I mean, if all the guys down on Dykeman Street want to put on their Timbs and grab baseball bats and find that guy and turn him into a watermelon, I got no problem with that. He violently assaulted somebody, you know.
Street justice.
Yeah, street justice I'm fine with, but to execute somebody with 9 rounds over $200 is a bit excessive.
Yeah, I mean, my take is, you know, on the one hand, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
You know, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, all the cliche things that I want to say. Yeah, I mean, obviously the execution style that occurs afterwards is crazy, and it's unwarranted. The guy's down. There's no way, I guess, you could have really known that this guy had a fake gun.
I'm not even gonna get,
you know, like, this was my gift here from Javier for Secret Santa. I mean, this shit looks real as fuck.
Yeah.
It sounds real as fuck. It's got like a, you know, so, but on the other hand, like, legalizing carry and open carry, it's going to sort crime out. It's not going to be particularly clean. It's going to be a little bit messy. These scenarios are going to happen, but I could probably guarantee you criminals now in the Houston area they're going to think twice about robbing people again with a
Yes.
BB gun or whatever the fuck in that scenario. After
I
they
don't
saw
I don't
this.
disagree. I just think with the way the media treats the Second Amendment, that like, and I'm sure this guy is going to be in some sort of trouble. You know, I don't know
Maybe,
about
maybe not.
maybe in Texas,
I don't know.
Houston,
Maybe not.
in Houston's Texan, but like if this happened in New York or like the tri-state area, you'd be arrested for
Oh no,
murdering
you
this
would.
guy.
Yeah, you would. I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you. I don't think he should be arrested for murder. I don't think he
Yeah.
murdered anybody. He was defending himself and other people. Did he? Is it? At the same time, I could look at it and be like, yeah, he it was just crazy how the length he went to afterwards, after the guy
Yes.
was down. Yeah, but he was still justified in defending himself and everybody else in there because he didn't ask for that to happen to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was not the aggressor in that scenario. The other person, the criminal was. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and that's what happens. In an armed society, right?
Yeah.
These things are going to happen, but by and large, I think
It's-
there'll be a deterrence to that sort of behavior, and those things won't happen. But because of like the way policy has been for many years around the country, maybe not so much in Texas until recently, there's going to be like a transitionary period where
Yeah.
some people get shot. And every time I've advocated for just no law carry, like I've always said, like, yeah, there's going to
It's
people
gonna
going to get
happen.
sorted out. There's going to be some people that get sorted
There's,
out
I think,
for a
there's
couple months or couple of years. It's going to be a
Yeah.
cultural change that occurs.
I think there's an old joke from, oh man, this is a comedian from the 90s, Christopher Titus,
Mhm.
where he talks, I'm pretty sure he was like, oh, everybody should carry a gun. He's like, but the first couple of months or that first year, we're really gonna thin the herd until like it all gets to this even playing field of
Yeah.
that an armed society is a polite society.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it will. It will definitely. I also think it's obviously important. Like, if you're going to carry a gun, you like know what you're doing. You train.
Yeah.
You obviously carry it responsibly, right? Like, there's even an argument. Like, did he even need to intervene there? Like, the guy probably would have taken the money and left, probably. But then again, you don't know for certain, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to put yourself in that scenario. And make
Where
a judgment.
where
That's the scenario cops are in a lot of the time.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, too. So.
yeah, where I drew the line though is the execution.
Oh yeah,
part.
yeah. That was
The part that we're not allowed to show on
Sure.
on
agree
our podcast is that's where I was like, God damn, this isn't a good look for for Second Amendment
I agree.
advocates.
And the fact that it's not a good look, and I guarantee you a lot of Second Amendment people would be like, that was a step across the line, proves that we're not just murdering psychopath lunatics, right? Like, no, that's not going to be acceptable.
Yeah.
Again, the guy shouldn't go to jail, but people are going to be like, hey, maybe he'll get a stern talking to from the Second Amendment community, about that. So interesting scenario though, man. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to bring that
rob
up.
stores.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? It's Skaggs, and I'm here to tell you about a new partner of ours, the Patriot Cigar Company. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to casually enjoy a good cigar with a nice glass of bourbon, especially during the fall months. The Patriot Cigar Company just launched their first 5 cigars, including the Hellfire, TNT, Mark 48, and Moab. Each cigar is handmade with premium tobacco that is aged a minimum of 3 years in Nicaragua. The best part about it is that you can go to mypatriotcigars.com and use our promo code DOOMED for 15% off your purchase. So if you're ready to sit back and enjoy a nice cigar around the campfire, head on over to their website and see what they have to offer using the link in our episode description below.
We have a liftoff.
Yeah,
In
moral of the
Texas.
story, don't fuck around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't rob a taco restaurant.
Yeah. You're not going to get much money to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next story, which I think we'll go into the Berenson Twitter file. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about Alex Berenson a couple times on this podcast. He is a former New York Times journalist. He is kind of like, I was telling you, Cap, he's like the preeminent guy at the moment who's like, he's been riding the vaccine coverage's ass this whole
Mhm.
time, trying to document and cover everything. He's not a scientist, he's a journalist. He's done a pretty good job throughout all of COVID. He was suspended by Twitter back in the previous regime unfairly. He is like the first person to sue Twitter and get his account reinstated, which is almost like a precursor to like all the shit that the Twitter files have confirmed. When he sued, that stuff all was in court, and that's why he was able to win, because I guess the judge and whatever found how unfair it was. So I'm going to read here a little bit. This is not the longest article, so bear with me, but I think it's important to go over it in full. So from Alex Berenson, and this is on his Substack. I will put the link in the description if I remember. So from the Twitter files, Phizer board member Scott Gottlieb secretly pressed Twitter to hide posts challenging his company's massively profitable COVID jabs. To funnel his demands, Gottlieb used the same Twitter lobbyist the White House did. Fresh evidence of overlap between the company selling mRNA shots and the government forcing them on the public. On August 27th, 2021, Gottlieb, a Phizer director with over 550,000 Twitter followers, saw a tweet he didn't like, a tweet that might hurt sales of Pfizer's mRNA vaccines. The tweet explained correctly that natural immunity after COVID infection was superior to vaccine protection. It called on the White House to follow the science and exempt people with natural immunity from upcoming vaccine mandates. It came not from an anti-vaxxer like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but from Dr. Brett Garrar, a physician who had briefly followed Gottlieb as the head of the Food and Drug Administration. Further, the tweet actually encouraged people who did not have natural immunity to get vaccinated. No matter, by suggesting some people might not need COVID vaccinations, the tweet could raise questions about the shots. Besides being former FDA commissioner, a CNBC contributor, and a prominent voice on COVID public policy, Gottlieb was a senior board member at Pfizer, which depended on mRNA jabs for almost half of its $81 billion in sales in 2021. Pfizer paid Gottlieb $365,000 for his work that year. Gottlieb stepped in, emailing Todd O'Boyle, a top lobbyist in Twitter's Washington office, who was also Twitter's point of contact with the White House. The point was corrosive, Gottlieb wrote. He worried it would end up going viral and driving news coverage. Take a break right here real quick. And anytime you want to jump in, Cap.
Yeah, the first thing that should jump out to everyone was a Pfizer board member saw a tweet he didn't like. This is what it all comes down to. This is all the shadow banning, all the Twitter wars, every issue we've had on social media since Donald Trump announced he was running for president in 2015 and extremely ramped up once COVID hit was, I don't like this tweet.
Yeah.
And this is where the whole problem starts. Everybody's open to this magical debate that never takes place. Oh, I want freedom of speech. Oh, I want this debate. Up until I see a tweet I don't like, then it's not up for debate anymore.
That's a good point, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure their public policy position will be like, yeah, of course we support freedom of speech and a healthy debate around scientific, news topics of the day. Yeah, except until a debate actually occurs like this, and then they're not, obviously.
The further we read into this, they talk about how I don't want to silence a debate, but we're never allowed to have the debate. And then when you have a podcast like this, and then when you have a podcast like this and you debate it, you get kicked off of TikTok, you get shadow banned on Instagram.
Yeah,
and where the
ranked in the YouTube algorithm, right? I'm sure this will be. They've relaxed a little bit on the COVID rules to it, YouTube here, but I'm sure it'll be. One of the things that's standing out to me right here is Gottlieb stepped in, emailing Todd O'Boyle, a top lobbyist in Twitter's Washington office, who is also Twitter's point of contact with the White House. Again, this is going to go on to detail that this guy Gottlieb, he was the former head of the FDA. He's working on the board of Pfizer. He reaches out to Twitter's point of contact with the White House. I'm going to be making a case for fascism here throughout this entire article, because that's what this is. And the article will make the case for me, really. But again, Pfizer reaching out to contact for Twitter of the White House, corporation, state, indistinguishable, essentially. at this point. And again, just to preface it, what was Benito Mussolini's definition of fascism? A merger of corporation and state. That's exactly what all the COVID behavior was. It was fascism.
You know, it's pretty funny that you bring that up because we had that little spat on Twitter today with some idiot over the Young Turks guy. And he, at the very end of the tweet, he's like, "This is fascism." I also wanted to be like, what corporation is telling the Brazilian people that the election was stolen?
Yeah, a lot of people have no idea what fascism really is. Like, and I understand why, because for fucking, many years now, people have called Donald Trump a fascist. He's not in any sense of, of the imagination whatsoever. He's an idiot, but he's not a fascist by any stretch of imagination. Let's keep going. Here is the email, I guess, to Twitter. And, it says natural immunity, superiority of vaccine immunity, this kind of stuff. Yeah, he goes, this kind of stuff is corrosive. Here he draws a sweeping conclusion off a single retrospective study in Israel that hasn't been peer reviewed. But this tweet will end up going viral and driving news coverage. I found the email in a search of records I ran at Twitter last week, part of Elon Musk's Twitter files. Effort to raise the veil on censorship decisions Twitter made before it bounced with the company. I went into detail, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's keep going. Through Jira, an internal system Twitter used for managing complaints, O'Boyle forwarded Gottlieb's email to the Twitter Strategic Response Team, the group that was responsible for handling concerns from the company's most important employees' users. Please see this report from the former FDA commissioner, O'Boyle wrote, failing to mention that Gottlieb was a Pfizer board member with a financial interest in pushing mRNA shots.
Oh, they just forgot that important tidbit that this guy was making sure they made 81. I don't think the average person understands what $81 billion is.
Yeah. Again, going back to the fascism point, a pharmaceutical product was created. It was paid for with government funding to create it. It was then mandated to be consumed by government edict. And then it was influenced, like propagandized by corporate and state entities through social media. It's every single possible imaginable fucking definitional point of fascism. And it's just, God damn it, so ironic that it's coming from the we love democracy people and the people who call everyone a fascist, like I was saying before. Again, if you fucking slapped them in the face, they wouldn't know what fascism is. A strategic response analyst quickly found the tweet did not violate any of the company's misinformation rules. Yet Twitter wound up flagging Garar's tweet anyway, putting a misleading tag on it and preventing almost anyone from seeing it. It remains tagged, even though several large studies have confirmed the truth of Garar's words.
So I'm going to make this point, and then I'll stop slowing you down with it. If you've noticed, for everybody who has been following the Twitter files and Doom Nation, a great way to help your coworker, your aunt, uncle, Normie McGee, who doesn't believe, still watches CNN, this, that, just give them the Twitter files and let them read through it and make up whatever they want to make up from it. I actually did this at my job, and the poor kid was just sitting at his desk sweating bullets as he was reading through the Twitter files.
That's fine.
But if you've noticed,
Taibbi put out the capsule of all Twitter files in one place. I'll try and remember to put that in the description.
So if you've noticed over the past several Twitter files, scroll up for a second so I have the exact words. They flagged the tweet anyway. If from the very first Twitter files, there was talk about how there's no violation, but they're gonna flag it anyway. Right. This has been an ongoing, reoccurring theme in almost every Twitter file drop.
It's interesting because it's an acknowledgement by the Twitter staff that this is wrong, and they still just did it anyway.
Yes.
So like, you could even make the point that they're not going in there and being like, yeah, we got to do this because they're that. I mean, they definitely were ideologically driven to some aspect, the Twitter staff.
Yes.
But you could even make the argument that they, they did think a little bit critically, and they did acknowledge that this is not necessarily right, but they still did it anyway, right? And you're right. That has been a recurring theme through all of these things. It doesn't violate policy. It doesn't sound right. I remember, even Yoel Roth at one point was questioning like the FBI's, like this is now a bit extreme or something like that. Yoel Roth was questioning, but then they still did it anyway, right? So again, why is that? It's the power of the state leaning on you, making you do things. It's fascism over and over and over again. All right. So again, so this is Brett Grower's tweet again. It's now clear COVID-19 natural immunity is superior to vaccine immunity by a lot. There's no science justification for vax proof if a person had prior infection. CDC director and POTUS must follow the science. If no previous infection, get vaccinated. I mean, the guy even recommended you get vaccinated in the post, and then they still put it as misleading. So it doesn't even matter. Like if you have any deviance from the mainstream talking point or the agenda, and you're misleading, and your post will be. It doesn't even matter if you're a scientist or doctor, like this guy was.
We should go back and find some of the more COVID focused episodes and rewatch them and just take clips from it. Of, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, look, dude, we had the one episode when COVID was first going on. I think it was called Quarantine Day 57. It was like 57 days into 2 weeks to stop the spread. And we were talking about some of the measures that like California was taking, about like how you can't like fish on the beach.
Yeah.
And we were just like, what? We were going over them like, how do these make any fucking sense? Like, with the little knowledge we even had at the time about COVID, we were like, this doesn't sound right. Like, you can't sit on a beach, not near anyone, because alone somehow, right? And that got yanked. That got pulled down by YouTube. To this day, it's gone.
I remember that storyline. The guy put a mannequin out on a paddleboard with a fishing pole, and the police came onto it, and they were waiting for him to come in until they finally found out it was like a mannequin, I think.
Ridiculous. And then, obviously everybody knows now that none of that made any sense, right? But it got pulled down, and because misinformation. I will continue. A week later, on September 3rd, 2021, Gottlieb tried to strike again, complaining to O'Boyle about a tweet from Justin Hart. Hart is a lockdown and COVID vaccine skeptic with more than 100,000 Twitter followers. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but a viral pathogen with a child mortality rate of less than or equal, what is that? Less than 0%?
Less than or greater than
0% has cost our children nearly 3 years of schooling, Hart had written. Clever tweet. Why Gottlieb objected to Hart's words is not clear, but the Phizer shot would soon be approved for children 5 to 11, representing another massive market for Phizer, right? It's a good point. If you open up the the possibility of children being allowed to now get shot, that justifies more purchase of vaccines, the vaccine by the government, because now you have like more demand for
more people to vaccinate,
shot, especially when it's gonna, like when at this time, every imaginable, mandate was being floated out there. Right. So again, like it's all artificially driven.
We also have to go back and remember the plan was to vaccinate every living being on the planet,
every creature,
from the elites that live in the heart of LA, in a building that houses 1,000 people, to the indigenous people on some island.
North Sentinel Island,
that haven't, that have never come to the year 2022. They too needed vaccines.
Yep.
Every living, breathing person. So
O'Boyle referred to former FDA Commissioner Gottlieb when he forwarded the report, again ignoring Gottlieb's current work for Phizer. This time, though, Gottlieb's complaint was so far afield that Twitter refused to act. At the same time, Gottlieb was also pressing Twitter to act against me. Who is me? Me is Alex Berenson. This is going to get into what we were talking about earlier. As I disclosed on Substack on October 13th, 2022, drawing on documents that Twitter's pre-Musk regime provided to me as part of my lawsuit against it. Gottlieb's action was part of a larger conspiracy that included the Biden White House and Andrew Slavitt working publicly and privately to pressure Twitter until it had no choice but to ban me. I will have more to say about my own case and will be suing the White House, Slavitt, Gottlieb, and Phizer shortly. Good for him.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep. We've been complaining and saying, when is someone going to do something about all this? When is someone going to use one of the methods available to try and fight back, which is the court system? I really hope Alex Berenson follows up here because he's been saying this for a while now, actually. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. The morning after I wrote that article, Gottlieb appeared on CNBC, the financial news channel, where he's a contributor. Of course, he's a contributor there, right? Of course. Just like, the FBI, they contribute to, of course. And offered what at best was a seriously misleading explanation of his actions and his motives. Gottlieb did not deny pressing Twitter on me. He could not, given the documents I had released the night before. But in an interview with Joe Kernan of CNBC, Gottlieb said he had asked Twitter to act only because he was concerned if tweets raised the threat of violence against vaccine advocates.
Brought this up to you before.
Yeah.
It is such a bullshit reasoning behind doing what you're doing, especially because these same people are pro-violence towards anti-vaxxers. You could say whatever you want against an anti-vaxxer, and Twitter isn't going to bat an eyelash. But there's no one here advocating for violence against vaccine advocates, but we're concerned about it.
Right.
I mean, we're just pulling rainbows out of fairy tales.
The inability of these platforms to police direct threats, physical threats about people, that's my concern about what's going on in that ecosystem, Gottlieb said. Now, see, in the real world, me and you, Cap, we would agree that threats on Twitter and whatnot, like threats of violence, are not acceptable, right? And like doxing is not acceptable. That's a whole nother thing. So in theory, we would agree with Gottlieb. But Gottlieb does not actually agree with us in theory. He's just using that and random examples, which I'm going to show later, random examples of whatever. It's not even verifiable, to then justify censorship of COVID debate and discussion, right? So it's not about actual threats of violence. It's about they want to censor discussion around COVID. And they're just using the threats of violence against them as a method to justify censorship, right? That's exactly what it is. That's all it is. They have nothing else. Because when they just allow their ideas and their work to just stand up to debate, they have nothing. It falls apart, right? Because people pick away at it. So of course they don't want that. They got to use threats of violence and whatever to justify censorship.
Yep.
All right, let's keep going. I'm unconcerned about debate being made. That's just golden, following up what I just said, right? Gottlieb told Kernan, I'm concerned about physical threats being made for people's safety. In a tweet that morning, Gottlieb doubled down, writing, respectful debate and dialogue is one thing and should be encouraged and protected, but there's no place for targeted harassment and misleading dialogue, which can instigate a small but persuadable group of people to make targeted and dangerous threats. That is fucking contradictory.
Yeah.
Obviously.
He just, earlier in the Substack, it said this was when he showed up on CNBC, he gave a misleading dialogue. And here we are, he's talking about how we can't let people mislead others.
Yeah.
It's all a contradiction.
And again, he's saying respectful debate and dialogue is one thing. What would you call that tweet that we read earlier that he was advocating get removed down? He's saying, I don't think that people who've gotten COVID should get vaccinated, right? Because they're not at risk, because natural immunity, etc. Like, is that a threat to him? That's respectful debate. He's saying, look, I'm a scientist. This is what I think. And this is what's going on. This is what I think. And this is what I think you should do. He didn't advocate that anybody attack Gottlieb with physical threats of violence. But Gottlieb is saying, well, you saying this is making people want to attack me and whatnot.
This is what I brought up before. The fact that everybody's all free speech and we should have a debate until you see a tweet you don't like.
Until the debate actually occurs. Then they don't want the debate anymore. Yeah. But all right. So, but Gerard's tweet about natural immunity was the definition of respectful debate and dialogue. And in his own email to Todd O'Boyle, Gottlieb did not raise any security concerns about it. He simply complained that it might wind up driving news coverage. So now, because it might not even that it did, because we have to censor someone's speech on Twitter.
It might change the agenda, so let's just get rid of it.
Gottlieb is not just a Phizer board member. He is one of 7 members of the board's executive committee and head of its regulatory and compliance committee, which oversees compliance with laws, regulations, and internal procedures applicable to pharmaceutical sales and marketing activities. Phizer has a long history of violating drug industry laws and ethics rules. In 2009, it agreed to pay $2.3 billion, the largest healthcare fraud settlement in American history, for fraudulently marketing several drugs. In 1996, it conducted a clinical trial of an antibiotic in Nigeria in which 11 children died and which became the inspiration for John le Carre's novel, The Constant Gardener. I think that is it. So how will Phizer react to black and white proof from Twitter's records that one of its most powerful board members secretly tried to suppress debate on the mRNA-backed jabs that has been by far its best-selling product since 2020, and will see NBC continue to let Gottlieb use it to mislead?
100% they will.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Any final thoughts on that? I mean,
no, I mean, we were right again. I'm loving all these Twitter files.
Yeah.
Just keep them coming. A whole year of Twitter files. I'm fine with it. We need some type of class action lawsuit. We need some type of justice. Will we get it? I don't know. But yeah. It's weird though, like, to look back on it. You know, we're not scientists, we're not doctors, we're not smart guys, by any stretch of the matter. We've gotten this education through doing this podcast and becoming part of the community that we're a part of, and meeting these great people we've met through, the past several years doing this. But it's just weird how we saw the Matrix before, like, they even were able to entrap us in it. We didn't buy any of this, and they put a full court press out against us.
They did, yeah.
And we knew they were wrong from the start. And for the two of us, at least, we never deviated. And it's weird to think, like, how we could pull something off, like just two regular Joes, just knowing that this billion-dollar organization was nefarious from day one.
We're experts in freedom. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? And it's hard to get one over, an expert in freedom.
Yeah.
And
that should be on the business card.
Yeah.
Co-host of Two Do Men podcast, expert in freedom.
Yeah. I've always been interested in, again, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I've always been interested in history, right? So, like, I know a lot about government behavior throughout the years and totalitarian behavior, throughout the years. I've learned a lot more the past 3 years since we started doing the podcast, and it's my position has vastly changed, as everybody knows, right? But man, I don't know. I could smell the shit coming from government. It didn't smell, shit stinks, and you could smell it from far away when you're in the know with this.
And especially when the government tells the media to hold the shit up and tell the world it doesn't stink. Yeah. Exactly. A little side note on MNRA technology. Bill Gates, my best favorite billionaire friend in the world,
Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft penis, opened up his fucking dick sucking hole and came out, and he is injecting farm animals with mRNA vaccine technology to make them more productive. Boy, if you're not going to get vaccinated, we're sure going to make sure the food has the same ingredients the vaccine has in it. We're going to get you one way or another. Man. Anybody that trusts this man is truly one of the dumbest people on the planet. And on top of it all, if you go to his Instagram account, you go to his Facebook, and I don't know about his Facebook page, but I know for certain his Instagram account and his Twitter account, he has had comments turned off for years. Because I used to remember, when we first started this podcast, I would go check his Instagram page, and he would put up a picture of, like, oh, we're going to have a charity for Ethiopia, blah, blah, blah. Like, and just lay out, like, oh, this charity is going to raise money, blah, blah, blah. and it would be like 500,000 comments like, we know what you're doing, you're trying to depopulate the earth. He had to turn off all comments, and they've been turned off for years. It's amazing.
That's the thing, right? You don't want, obviously, that to be right there for everybody to see. That's what they did for fucking the Rings of Power on Amazon, right? Like every goddamn trailer they put out got ratioed into outer space by people who hated it. And there were so many negative comments from Lord of the Rings fans that they just shut off the fucking comments.
Yeah.
Right. And things like that, because, it's a great show. Yeah. People definitely loved it. Same thing for Bill Gates. So Gottlieb hasn't remained silent here either since this has come out. He is speaking. He is tweeting as of yesterday. And he said, in the past, I've raised concerns with Twitter related to the safety of me and others and threats being made on the platform. This included direct as well as specific threats. Sometimes it included statements that I believed were purposefully false and inflammatory. The selective discourse of my private communications with Twitter stokes the threat environment. So does actions that empower people who have shown little restraint when it comes to purposeful vitriol. It instigates more menacing dialogue with potentially serious consequences. You can't expose any of the evil, corrupt stuff I've done because then people will be mad at me.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's literally his argument.
Isn't this basically
his rebuttal?
Yeah. Isn't this basically how you always say the emperor has no clothes?
They have none. No, they have no clothes.
Because now he's out there naked and exposed, and he's mad that he's being exposed.
If the goal of Twitter Files is transparency, the iron law of woke projection, don't forget that one either. He's going to have to project here. If the goal of Twitter Files is transparency, here's some of the private emails I had with Twitter related to threats and safety, which weren't released and which I repeatedly highlighted in my communications with the platform. Safety remains an existential concern for Twitter. He posts some, and then he posts some like threats.
The cherry picked
threats from him, I'm sure, right, by the threat. And we would agree that these are not right. I'm not advocating, and neither are you here, that anyone should go after this guy with acts of violence or something because he's a scumbag. No, I want to expose him, for the fraud that he is and pushing corrupt policy, right? That's exactly what everyone is trying to do here. Are there some bad faith actors? Of course, there always are going to be, right? And then at the same time, how do you even know if any of that shit's real, right? How do you know that's not a fucking fake account that he made? Yeah. And then he sent it to himself. I'm not saying that's what happened, but how do you know that?
But it's easily done. God knows it's easily done.
Again, he doesn't care about this. He cares about censoring the debate around COVID, while at the same time, he's okay with healthy debate. They're not. It's a fucking lie. It's double speak. It's everything that like an authoritarian regime will do. It's George Orwell. It's everything he ever fucking predicted. It's right here. And this is a guy who is not only was an employee of the government. He was the head of the FDA. He is a board member of Phizer. It's so dirty, all of it. It really is. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's going to be like, you can't put any of this stuff out about me. It's going to make me look bad. Yeah, because you did bad things.
You're doing the bad things.
You deserve to look bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The cover up is just as important as the crime.
You're right. I like that phrase you've been using a lot lately, man. It's a good one. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see more of it. Mm-hmm. That's all. This is all the Twitter Files do is they're not only exposing the crime, they're exposing the cover up.
They are. Yeah. No? Which is just important sometimes as the crime itself, without a doubt. Yeah.
I mean, there's the old Q saying knowingly. The term knowingly, they did this knowingly is thrown around a lot. I think the more we expose the COVID files and what went on behind the scenes with COVID, not that they knowingly knew the origins of COVID. We obviously don't have any evidence of that. I think they knowingly suppressed information to push a $81 billion profiting vaccine upon people with knowingly knew that there was cheaper ivermectin and other methods that probably worked better. I think that term they knew they did this knowingly.
100%. They know they were lying. They know they were lying. They know they know that we know, and they know that we know that they know. So they do. Obviously, they just don't care. It's not about the threats of violence or anything like that. That's just they'll never admit it. They'll never admit that they knew what they.
One day they will. One day they're going to be cornered in court, and somebody's going to cave.
They'll still never probably admit it, right? They'll just get sentenced and profess their innocence the whole time,
and then get sent to a club fed where they get sushi lunches and have yoga classes and tennis tournaments in the courtyard.
Right. They'll live in the lap of luxury, without a doubt. So, all right, that's the end of the Twitter file. We got a couple other things possibly we could talk about. We got tweets of the week as well. Where do you want to go next, Cap? I also have an interesting 4-minute long video of Fauci giving another interview recently about the Damar Hamlin situation. That's a possibility we could talk about. I know you want to talk a little bit about McCarthy, though. I don't want to go here for hours either.
I like I said, I haven't been feeling well. So
you pick. What do you want to jump?
I don't think I could handle Fauci right now.
Fair enough.
Let's save. I'm kind of upset. Elon, what are you doing? I thought we were getting the Fauci files last week. What the fuck, pal?
Well, it's not him. It's the journalists that are going over it, right? So perhaps they're, they found
There's
more.
So much info.
They're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Real quick, one thing that happened before we even got on, Scott Horton got banned on Twitter.
Yes.
So Elon, what the fuck is going on there? What could Scott Horton possibly have done?
Yeah.
That violates Twitter policy. We're like, who is Scott Horton threatening? He's the nicest, kindest guy you'll ever meet in your life.
Hey, let's let the story. I'm not saying he did anything wrong, and I obviously don't agree with him but let's let the story unfold, because if there's bullshit, we'll smell it.
Yeah. If it is bullshit, I'm not paying for Twitter anymore. I'm taking my $11 and I'm going home. So
yeah.
So go ahead, Cap. What do you want to pick? You want to do tweets of the week?
Let's do tweets of the week, because I think what we're going to see with McCarthy running the House will also become an ongoing topic. It was interesting to see how they leveraged what they wanted against him. Mm-hmm. I had suspicions that all their leveraging was fake, and now they actually have to go through with what they want to do.
Okay. All right. We'll get into that next.
Yeah. But let's
sure.
Let's brief.
Let's start with mine. And this is from the great Ron Paul, where he says, voluntary markets and civil society unite, while power and politics divide. The more power, the more politics, and the more division throughout society. This is a two-parter. Political power was designed and meant to be decentralized in America. Problems are always best solved locally. They also tend to remain local when a giant apparatus of compulsion can't impose itself on everyone. Thought that was a great fucking tweet. But
that is pretty that's very deep and intelligent.
In his old age, he's still out here dropping words.
The guy knows what's good, man. Too bad he ran against Hillary Clinton.
The machine. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over one of the old cap.
Now, this might be from a previous week, but we never got to cover it. Mostly peaceful memes. Congress has spent more time picking a House Speaker than they did reading the 1.7 trillion bill they just passed.
Here's Garrett down here.
Yep. Exactly. Amazing.
Yeah.
Purely amazing.
That's one of the issues that they're
and now they have to do, I think, single issue bills, and they have to have 72 hours to read the bill, correct?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
those are all things you would think like are a given.
But not in
fucking tooth and nail, apparently.
Yep.
Mostly peaceful memes is a great page, by the way. It's really fucking funny. A lot of funny shit goes on there. All right. My next tweet from my best friend, the senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy. And this is in response to the Brazilian whatever occurred in Brazil at the Supreme Court. And Chris Murphy goes, when Americans show contempt for democracy, the contempt spreads. Those who are trying to overthrow the legitimately elected government in Brazil should be held accountable, just like the traitors were here. America stands with Lula and the rule of law in Brazil. Oh boy, where do I begin with Chris Murphy here? Hang on. Give me a minute here. Do you remember? I don't remember how many episodes it was ago, But we discussed many, many moons ago on this podcast how many times the United States federal government and the agencies have intervened in Southern American affairs. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I mean, like we kind of went into that blind, and I was like, oh man, it's got to be like in the 50s, maybe 100 times.
Yeah.
It was in the thousands. I think it was around 2,000 or more. It even has occurred in Brazil itself, right? So our own government has meddled in democracy in Brazil, right? I don't see fucking Chris Murphy talking out about that historically in any way whatsoever. Furthermore, let's not forget who was in 2013, or it was 2012 or 2013, in Kyiv with John McCain on the stage with the opposition party in Ukraine. Well, it just so happened to be Chris Murphy. What was Chris Murphy doing in Ukraine? He was supporting the overthrow of Yanukovych, the duly elected president of Ukraine, whose election was certified by the European Union. Chris Murphy was up on that stage with John McCain, cheering, like riling up the crowds in Ukraine to overthrow Yanukovych.
Yep.
Why? Because they want to set up a more pro-Western, pro-American government in Ukraine, which they now have in the Zelensky regime there, right? So this fucking guy did the same thing himself. He even went to the place where a coup occurred later on by the people against the elected, democratically elected government. So please spare me the shit, Murphy. You fucking got your hands dirty yourself, but you're out here now talking about random people in
it is
Brazil.
Hysterical how Twitter and how politicians and how the media and how the blue check marks of Twitter have reacted to what is going on in Brazil, because they are so worried. If an election result is A, then you must accept A. There's no fighting it. We must. And they play word soup. We must respect the votes of the Brazilian people. But the Brazilian people are the ones trying to overthrow the government because they themselves did not vote for this asshole. Good old.
Or so they think, right? Again, I don't know. We don't know.
Well, we have
but
no
this
proof.
Right.
So
this is what people have feelings and people have thoughts, and they're expressing their thoughts. We might not agree with them or not, but you're right. On the one hand, he's saying you should respect the people. On the other hand, he's saying, no, we shouldn't respect the people. It's more doublespeak from a government agent.
Barack Obama said the world has a stake in Brazilian diplomacy, blah, 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 blah. And he went on and I commented, I said, no, just the people of Brazil have a stake in their democracy. No one else does. This is not our problem. Like,
kind of a revealing comment by Obama. Yeah. The world has a stake in Brazilian democracy. Like,
yeah, let me see if I can pull.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'm just saying, or he's outing that the globalists are interested in the affairs of the Brazilian people. It's right there. He's not fucking hiding it. You want to pull it up, or you want to move on to the next tweet?
Let's go to the next one. I'm not gonna be able to find it right now.
All right, this is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, from James Lindsay. Comment with what you hope the ghost of George Floyd brings you for January 6th. This was last week. I found this so funny. I think you posted something too for the night before January 6th as well.
Yeah, I said, make sure you leave out cookies and milk for the Q shaman.
Yes.
Yeah, man. It's funny. They, of course, James Lindsay's pretty funny, dude. He is one of the smartest people I've ever read or heard, but he is hysterical as well.
Did you see the tweet from Adam Schiff on January 6th, sitting there in his office with his phone? What happened a year ago? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, oh God, what a paid shill actor you must be to buy this crap, and for a grown man to sit in his nice fancy office and spew the same shit that he knows no one is buying.
So it's a white pill. They keep trying so hard, but really no one's buying that. Even to the extent like that's just so
cringe
for everyone. Like, there are a lot of problems people worried about and they're not educated on. My God, January 6th is so low on the totem pole for even the NPCs. We got one more from the captain, then we'll move on to our final topic of the night.
Richard D. Wolf. Were Ukraine winning, it would not need to beg for more tanks, armored vehicles, except its allies would not need to give them. This is a topic the next time we bring up Ukraine that I would like to talk about next time Ukraine's in the news. If Ukraine is beating Russia, we don't need to send them any more money then. They don't need any more guns. They don't need any more tanks. They don't need any more X, Y, and Z. I fully buy into any crazy Ukrainian wartime conspiracy. I believe Putin is already pulled out. I believe Russia is no longer even attacking Ukraine. I think just the war propaganda machine is on and we're laundering money.
I mean, it's, hard to know. We're not there.
Yeah, well, obviously,
right?
yeah. That's what makes it great.
It's interesting. I did read earlier today that we will be sending tanks and other armored vehicles for the first time to Ukraine. News to me. The fuck did they do with the money this whole time?
Yeah.
It's like $157 billion.
Why didn't they buy tanks with that?
Not a tank, right? They didn't buy a tank. What the fuck did they do with the money that whole time?
Where'd the money?
A lot of, I guess, a lot of bullets. I guess only.
Well, I think they're paying all their government officials with that money too.
Yeah. I mean, come on, that's questionable behavior right there. Really
hey, look,
is,
you know what though? The good thing is we were able to audit Donald Trump. Now we can audit people like Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, and maybe we could start auditing the military-industrial complex and see where this money's going.
The Federal Reserve, yeah. Let's get into that, man. So this is our last topic, and it is, I guess, the McCarthy.
Yes.
What do people call them? The Patriot 20 or the 20 Patriots or
the
something?
Freedom 20. Yeah, I saw
like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, man? I don't have anything prepared on this. Kind of just shoot the shit. I liked it. I really did.
Yes.
I will find it. I'll start here. I find it funny how one of the lines that they were using as to why this is so bad is like, we have no Speaker of the House. Like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Like, we don't have a Speaker of the House. And then like I went to work and like people were just doing their work and
traffic lights still worked. If you sped past a cop, you got a ticket.
People went out to get lunch. Yeah. They went home. They took a shit. Whatever. Like everything
Plumbing
was fine.
still worked. Yeah. You went to the
yeah.
hospital. You saw a doctor.
But they were using that as a justification of like, well, you better just support McCarthy because if you don't, like, people are going to freak out that we don't have a Speaker of the House. Yeah. So that's why you should vote for him. Not because like he's going to put forward things you want to do or he has the best policies. No, you should just vote for him because we fucking said so.
Yeah.
And that's democracy. And if you don't support it, you're a terrorist. Right,
just like
Crenshaw.
Yeah. Just like what's going on in Brazil. We must respect the outcome because we said so.
Yeah.
Don't work like that anymore. The business as usual, because we said so, is over. I left many comments. The old way of doing things is done. The GOP is not in disarray. There's no embarrassment. They are tired of supporting establishment hacks at the end of the fucking day. Is McCarthy an establishment guy? Yeah, I kind of believe he is. I don't know what the future is going to hold. 100%. I hope I get proven wrong, but they leveraged him for what they wanted. This is actually more important and more organized than just falling in unison because the person at the top said to fall in unison.
And then hoping magically that somehow you'll be able to do something after you just did that.
Yeah.
Right. Like that doesn't even follow like logically. It doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, man, like, I don't know. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. Like, I don't like democracy anymore. These are the people who love democracy. They're always talking about it, right? How it's so sacred and you gotta protect it and it's great. And we have to spread it to the rest of the world by the barrel of a gun. That is democracy, though.
Yeah.
Like,
just don't exercise
it's a small microcosm of democracy, like occurs in Congress. You have to elect a new person, right? So you have to vote for them. Well, how do you decide how you're going to vote on someone? They need to like propose. this is why you should vote for me, right? Because I stand for these things. And then you think about it, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? Isn't that what democracy is? That's what it's supposed to be, and that's exactly what happened here. But
and nobody liked it.
They literally are basically saying that this was a threat to democracy. Democracy is a threat to democracy.
Yes, we've come full circle. How many times have we said eventually somebody's going to say democracy is a direct threat to democracy?
It's a threat. That's it. We have to shut down democracy because it's a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
Because we need to protect democracy. That's literally what they're going to say. I love them. What was it? Remember the emperor in the Revenge of the Sith? I love democracy. Yeah, I'm sure you fucking do. Like, you know, everybody saw where that was going. It's just bizarre, dude. I mean, we could get into the X's and O's of McCarthy and, you know, what occurred. I don't think you even need to get into the X's and O's, though, because it's so goddamn phony on its fucking face right there that it's a good, again, I don't necessarily like the GOP or even the America First politicians, all of them. I don't agree with most of them, but I just like that they're like, fuck you. We're not going to do what you want. We're going to disagree. And we're going to, and it's one of the things I believe in, like opposition by any means. Any fucking thing you have to use against them, you use. You give it a shot. Maybe it won't actually amount to anything at all, any sort of change. Maybe. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
This could be the first domino.
It was fun to watch for fucking 4 days. Watch this guy sweat. Right? I liked it. I was having a good time.
And they don't like to sweat. They don't like when the agenda is set forth and the plan is not followed. And it's funny to see 4 days ago on Twitter, everybody's like, this is a threat to democracy, yada yada yada. Oh, they should just vote for McCain. What's his name? Oh God, McCarthy. You know, they should just vote for him, blah blah blah. And then now, like, he starts like setting forth like new bills and new laws and new rules and stuff, and they're like, this guy's a fascist, he's a threat to democracy. Like, you wanted to rush the vote to get his ass in there. Now his ass is in there, and now you're not happy with a single thing. Of course, there's no pleasing him. You're just a paid opposition machine that has no other setting other to just like fight, you know, fight for the agenda.
Yeah, right. And any change, even if McCarthy is going to put about some change, like, of course, then he'll be public enemy number one. After all this, or you know, state enemy number one. Like, they'll immediately cast out one of the swamp monsters if they do anything against the swamp. You know, and that could ultimately be what happens here. You know, I don't think Kevin McCarthy is a person of integrity, right? But what does that mean? That means that he's available for sale. Right. So in this instance, look, the fucking cash register has been rung up, buddy. America First now just bought you. So you better fucking do what the America First movement wants.
Or you're getting voted out.
Right. Or you're getting voted out, or we're not going to let you be fucking speaker. So now, in theory, he should have to go and do some of these things that they want him to do, which so far, after like 1 or 2 days, it's been a good start.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
Defunding the 87,000 IRS agents.
Yep. Thank God.
You know, they're going to put together a church commission about like government overreach and stuff like that. Like, is this shit going to amount to anything? I'll be honest with you. Probably not.
Yeah. It's only January. Let it unfold.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. One of the, go ahead. I got one really interesting aspect of this too. I want to go
at the minimum. The reason the establishment does not like this is because I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's a minority, but the way you look at it is a majority of people leveraged what they wanted in the government. So now it's always been Nancy Pelosi is going to get voted in. I said vote for Nancy. Everybody goes, oh, I vote for her. I vote for her. And now a minority of that said, okay, we're going to vote for this person, but you got to do A, B, and C. And that is something the establishment does not want the people to realize they have the power
because
to do.
They're totalitarian. They're authoritarians. They don't believe in actual democracy. It was funny, right? Because now you see why I don't like democracy. Because 20 people basically got to say no. Like, you know, you're going to do what we want you to do, not what everybody else wants to do. That's why anarchists don't like democracy, because it infringes upon the individual's rights, like mob rule. At the worst, at worst, it's tyranny of the majority. At best, it's tyranny of the majority. At worst, it's tyranny of the minority. So in this instance, you had tyranny of the minority. And look, the democracy people, they hated it. They sounded like anarchists now, right? Like, this is terrorism. We hate this. This is bad, etc. This is what you signed up for.
Yeah.
You guys are the democracy people, like we said 1,000 times already, man. So I thought that was ironic, right? Like they all sounded like anarchists all of a sudden. They probably don't even know what that is.
Nope.
But they sounded like it. One aspect, man, I thought was so goddamn interesting about this was Marjorie Taylor Greene. And her
very weird storyline for her and all this.
Her outright support of Kevin McCarthy. And then that was bizarre. I guess I kind of understand to some aspect. I mean, she's been blackballed since she's been in there. She got no power to do anything. So I would assume she made a deal with McCarthy on her own. Like, hey, I'm an oppositional person here. If I support you, you got to put me back on the committees and things that I haven't been able to participate in any capacity since I've been a fucking congressman. All right. Boy, she became public enemy number one of the MAGA movement and the America First movement. And I mean, some people we know and like, they were out there saying that she's sucking his cock, that they're doing this, and they're posting all this like really hateful shit towards Marjorie Taylor Greene, someone that they loved before. And I mean, not to take a shot at our friends, but I'm a bit confused because she's not the only person to have supported Kevin McCarthy. Donald Trump himself did as well, right? He endorsed Kevin McCarthy. Even Thomas Massey, who's my favorite congressperson, supported Kevin McCarthy. You don't see me saying that Massey's sucking Kevin McCarthy's cock. So I'm curious as to why the vitriolic reaction towards Marjorie Taylor Greene, but not towards Donald Trump. Like, why does Trump get the pass here, but not Marjorie Taylor Greene? Why do you think that is?
Trump's reached that point where at this point in the war, quote unquote war, as long as Trump doesn't come out like killing babies, you know what I mean? That the video of him murdering people or something come out, I think we're at the point where he can do no wrong. Or to the aspect of people of, subscribe to him. They're going to trust his plan. If Trump says McCarthy's good, he's good. But to then turn around and change their tone on
it's the same.
Taylor,
they had the same position. It doesn't make sense.
It's weird. It is very weird. I was kind of taken back as to Trump. I didn't really care so much as I was kind of flip-flopped. I cared more that Trump was like, just take the win, vote him in. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, no.
Yeah,
if you told us one thing, no, we can't play like this anymore. And for her, I was like, I didn't get it. But at the same time, I was like, she's had such a hard time. Maybe she's finally playing politics. You know what I mean? Like,
correct.
You got to get your hands dirty somewhere.
Guarantee that's exactly what she did. Right. I'm not saying I like that, but that's probably why she did it.
I'd say that's why she did it. But I mean, outside of just subscribing to Donald Trump can do no wrong, I don't understand how you have no outrage against Trump, but have all this outrage against Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Logical, and I don't like illogical behavior, especially from people who are supposed to be on our side.
Yeah,
I think they should think about that, right? Like, why did you react that way and not about Trump?
Oh, groupthink goes both ways.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I don't like it
on Twitter, and there's groupthink on Truth Social. At the end of the day,
it is. So it's interesting. I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Yes, let's get out of here, man.
Yeah, we will continue to keep an eye on the Twitter files. Hopefully, the Fauci one will drop soon.
Yes,
and I think we'll keep an eye on McCarthy too, right, and see if they're able to do anything.
Oh, we'll be holding McCarthy accountable.
Right,
if no one is, we will.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. He'll be dealing with us. Soon we'll be getting an angry letter from McCarthy. On the desk of the Two Doom Men podcast. Sign us off, Cap.
All right, Doom Nation. I hope you guys had a happy New Year, a great holidays. We are back. We are rolling. We have we are going to try and get a ton of guests to come on. We want to make our rounds, hopefully pop up on a couple of other shows. And we're all set up for another great year. Hope you guys enjoy us. As always, Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I think 2023 is going to be another crazy year, guys.
Oh,
Adios.
guaranteed. Good
Yeah.
night.